All right, this week on the latest episode of Conversations, I get to sit down with a filmmaker and a writer who I have a great deal of respect for. Um, Before we get to his latest film, his debut film, God, never things never said. I apologize. I'm sorry. Things never
Oh,
said.
don't worry about
This brother is written for Castle, which I dug that writing there. Sons of Anarchy, so many different projects. He wrote for Roots, the new Roots, not the old original 1977 one.
it. I may look
This,
like I did though.
nah, he didn't do that one, man. His latest film, The Devil You Know, is in theaters today. Without any further ado, it is my man, 50 grand. It is Charles Murray. Charles, welcome back to my show, man. It's been a long time, brother.
It has. It's been a while. How are you, Tim?
Man, I'm fine. I'm glad to see that you're back in this space because I know you and I have had conversations over the years and know you've been working on a lot of television projects. And I was like, man, when's the next movie coming? And here's the next movie. The story that is described, I love this description. After a lifetime of troubles, a man has a chance to turn things around with the love and support of his family. As he tries to do right, he finds himself spiraling back into the dark place he overcame. Charles, the whole impetus of this story, where did it derive from? What place when you were kind of creating this? Talk to me and the audience about that.
Well, thank you for having me. And it's good to see you as well. 30 years ago, I read an article about a man who was ostracized from his immediate family because he found out that his brother may have committed murder and found out that it was true and went to the police. And I thought, that's an amazing story. It was a very, and it's weird because when you think of stories like that, you would think that the article would be well thought out and long and continuing. And it was none of those things. It was a very vague article, didn't even mention the guy's name. But that stayed in my mind because of my own family, 5 children, my mother, my father, who was their stepdad, but they had taken him in as their father. That being said, I was 9 years younger than the youngest one. And being a kid who was fascinated by stories and storytelling, and who had made a proclamation to his mother, my mother, that I wanted to grow up and make films, I didn't look at people, I didn't interact or look at people the same as other folk. I always looked at it through a lens, so to speak. My sister, who was 16 years older than me, my oldest brother, 14, the one under him, 13 years older, the last one, 9 years older. I watched their dynamic almost as if it was ongoing theater. And that family dynamic sort of informs how I see character in everything that I write, everything that I do, the conflicts, the coming together, the pulling apart, all of that stuff happened in my family. So that article led me to think, what would that look like in a family like mine? And I actually had a conversation with my oldest brother and asked him, if you were in that position, what would you do? And he came back with, it depends. And I thought, the story wasn't what the article was, which is from the cutoff point moving forward. I need to go from him finding out to having to make a decision. That's where the meat was, because if I had told it from after he was ostracized, I'm telling a story about a solo character.
Right.
This way, I could tell a familial story. I could tell a familial drama / thriller for Black folks in a way that we rarely see, but we see all the time in movies like Mystic River, The Town,
Right.
Hell or High Water. And that family dynamic that that white filmmakers get to make and present, that we, people of all colors, imbibe, it makes us want to see films like that from our side. And I thought here was a chance to do it.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about the family dynamic, because as you were talking, I'm thinking about all of the films that we've seen. And I actually think we know there's a universality about family, because it's something that we all can relate to, because everybody has these families, and there's drama inside to a certain degree in every family, right?
Right.
I loved the aspect in the film, and of course, we didn't talk about the cast of the film. Of course, there's Omar Epps, Will Catlett, uh,
Michael
Glenn,
Ealy, Curtis Cook, Glenn
right,
Turman, Vanessa
Glenn
Bell
Turner,
Calloway,
right.
Keith Epps,
All of
Ashley
these,
Williams, Erica
all these
Tazzard.
amazing characters, man, that you have in here. You know, even Michael Ealy, man, in his role. Um, I love the fact that you had not necessarily a Cain and Abel situation, but it almost looks on the surface, until you delve a little deeper, it's like a Cain and Cain situation, because you've got this one guy who is perceived a certain way, and then there's another character that there's this resentment that goes back and forth, which we really don't understand until we get to the second and third act of the film. But I love how you actually kind of buried that in there and then kind of exposed it in your storytelling. You know, I'm not sure exactly what they call that when you kind of present it one way, but then later on we discover it's something else. But I thought that was a really good story device to use in order to move the story along and to create that tension that we get later in the film. Of course, it's by design, because you're Charles Murray, and I know you're pretty brilliant at this. But talk a little bit about the process of writing, because for you, you know, I always tease you, writing is kind of second nature, man. It's what you do.
Right.
And for people like you, because I know a lot of people who write, and I write. I think I'm okay as a writer. I can't write movies or screenplays, but I have a lot of respect for people who do. So talk a little bit about your process, and I think you talked earlier about kind of the structure of the story and the kind of origin of the story. But as you're developing your screenplay and you're drawing the elements that you need in order to kind of give us the story that we later on see, talk a little bit about the structure of this relationship between these brothers.
Well, it's interesting that you say Cain and Cain, because I think it is Cain and Abel, but I think at different points, one is Cain and one is Abel, one is Abel, one is Cain.
Right.
Uh, there's always a dynamic in family of transference. You're something one day, your siblings are something else, and then there can be a shift of power, age, bringing people up. There could be money, somebody could be on top one minute and then they're not. And that's when the dynamics shift. So for me, the key to telling this story was, if you look at a lot of, Hitchcock made a lot of movies in the 50s that were about innocent people being caught up in situations.
Right.
And a lot of people followed that, but the person who got caught up in the situation was usually kind-hearted, good, and had been caught up in a mistake. One of my favorite movies of his from that time is a Montgomery Clift film called The Wrong Man. No, that's Henry Fonda. I'm forgetting the name of this movie.
Hold on a second. You
But
said Hitchcock and Montgomery Cliff.
yes. Uh, but they're both the same film. The Henry Fonda film, which is The Wrong Man, and the other one, I Confess. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And in Henry Fonda's film, he's a jazz musician who happens to be going home, and someone accuses him of robbery. In Montgomery Clift's film, Montgomery Clift plays a priest who finds out that one of the guys who works in the church has committed murder, but he can't say anything because the guy comes to him in confession. But in both cases, those are innocent people who are pulled into a situation. So for me, what I felt could be dynamic was, what do you do if you're normally the problem in a family?
Mm-hmm.
If you are the black sheep,
right,
and everyone has rallied around you time and time again, and then you suddenly get information, which means you have to basically go at some of the people who have taken care of you. So once I had that narrative, it was all about the balance between trying to do a character study and making a thriller. And what that does, in my mind, I feel like every show, every movie, whether it be comedy, drama, horror, or whatever, has a little bit of a mystery element to it, because you're trying to find out who you're going to be by the last scene. Mm-hmm. And so from a writer's perspective, it's my job to keep the mystery going. This time, it was also my job to keep this character from wanting to make a decision that would change his dynamic with his family. But because of going through the stuff that he had gone through, because he's in rehab, because everyone has looked down upon him because of the decisions that he has made, mm-hmm. the complications then become, how does he know what the right thing is? How does he know what the right thing to do is? And that was what was engaging for me as the writer. Right. Because, put it to you like this. The bus is on its way somewhere. The driver pulls over, has a heart attack, dies. Nobody knows how to work a big vehicle like that, except for the homeless alcoholic who's sitting in the back of the bus. Mm-hmm. And you can smell him. But you know, if you don't get this bus to a certain place at a certain time, all of these people who are on the bus are going to end up in a bad situation. What do you do? The
guy's got to drive the bus. He's the only one.
Exactly.
He's the most unlikely guy.
So he's the most unlikely guy to get you to where you need to be. And the first thing you're going to wonder is he going to make the right decisions? So putting the knowledge, putting the problem in the hand of a person who is off balance becomes the driving narrative. And once my writer brain fires on that, then it's off to the races. I'm engaged. I need to be engaged even when I'm writing as almost like a viewer. And I also need to split that in half because I need to be driving it in a cold and calculated way so that my emotion doesn't take me off track.
Got you. Got you. Well, as I said, man, the devil, I enjoyed this film a great deal.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your cast. You had some faces that are very recognizable: the Omar Epps, the Michael Ealy's, Vanessa Bell Calloway, Glenn Turman, Will Catlett. These guys have all been busy, working on other projects, and they came in and worked with you. And not just this film, but your debut film as well, where you had Omari Hardwick and Shanola Hampton. What is your relationship? Because we know the writing part you have down, but when it's time for you to direct, and whether it's you're directing your own films, whether you're directing television projects, what is your relationship when you kind of flip your hat from being the writer to now being the director and kind of guiding these actors through your process?
Well, let's not forget Theo Rossi and the great Michael Beach.
Well, you know what? And I apologize because both of those guys are really, really good. You're absolutely correct.
BJ Britt as well. Because of my TV experience, because of all of the time that I've been in television, I've gotten to know a lot of the people who recur in my films, my movies. And I've developed a great relationship with them offset that when I gear up for a project, I know that I can go to them. And I want to go to them because those friendships that are beyond set work make set work so much easier. The newer people that I end up going to, I wrote this with Omar Epps in mind from the very beginning, which is something that I don't normally do. I don't write with actors in mind because I want the characters to introduce themselves to me and hang out in my head in their own space. But this one, I thought about it hard and long and said, this would be something that's good for Omar Epps. And how I come to those decisions is as a fan, watching movies, watching TV, seeing people who engage me and thinking, wouldn't it be good to see them do something that they rarely get a shot to do? With Michael Ealy, I'm writing a pilot, hopefully that'll become a limited series. That's the narrative version of Blood Brothers, the book that became the Netflix doc about Muhammad Ali's friendship with Malcolm X.
Okay.
And the first person that came to mind to play Malcolm X was Ealy. We're repped by the same management firm. They got us on a Zoom. That Zoom went on probably way too long for an introductory meeting, and an acquaintanceship came out of it. And one day we were talking about something else, and I said, hey, I'm about to go make this movie. There's a role here that's off the beaten path for you. Take a look at it. And he called me and said, I read your script. I got to think about it. I'm going to call you back. And then he called me back, and he was thrilled to see a movie about Black brotherhood that was surrounded by family love. And also happy to see that I wasn't looking for, oh, he's cute, he should be in the movie, because I think Michael is an amazing actor. So coming to all of these people from the place of being a movie fan, a TV fan, and saying, I would like to work with you. I don't approach people with the idea of working with them will benefit me in a box office sense, in a being recognized as a director of blah, blah, blah. I want to work with them because I feel like as a director, and I stole this from Alfred Hitchcock, I feel like he's right when he says the first audience member of a movie is the director. So I cast according to the movie I would want to go see. And when we get on set, their opinions are valuable. At a certain point, I tell them, you will start to know the character more than I will, because I'm thinking from 30,000 feet while you're thinking from 3 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me, I don't want this to disconnect.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah, that would be ugly. And so I put a cast together to be in awe of the cast. And they came to this project because they all loved the script. And it was a meeting of minds, so to speak.
Got you. So I guess for me, man, and I guess we're going to learn together. What's next, man? Because, I always love talking to brothers that write, man, because you guys always got one in the chamber, man. What's next? Are you trying to go back to television? Are you going to work on developing, your third film? What is the plan?
Wait, this is the fourth one. This would be the fourth one. You
missed. Which one did I miss?
There was a movie that I did in 2017, came out 2019, called The Cold Hard Truth. Simone Missick, Dorian Missick, Michael Beach. But it was, but don't do that, because it literally was, I'll take you to the genesis. I was watching All the President's Men, a movie I adore. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I was on Luke Cage season 3, but it didn't happen.
Right.
I'm sitting at home watching All the President's Men, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I ended up watching it 2 times back to back. Then I watched Absence of Malice, the Paul Newman, Sally Field movie. And sitting there said, are there any modern day movies where the lead is a Black journalist? Not having to do with him being Black, him or her being Black, but the journalist is Black. And I Googled it, and the only thing that popped up was Denzel in Pelican Brief.
Right.
And I went, okay, I'm going to make a movie about a Black journalist. And cobbled it together, lickety split. May have had the idea in September, was shooting in December.
Wow.
Posted 2018, played festivals 2019, and now it's out there on VOD somewhere. Very proud of it. It's about an alcoholic journalist who is going through a divorce and has been let go from his job because in a fit of rage, he punched his wife. And so he's trying to crawl out of that hole, and his cousin brings him into an even deeper hole. she's been having an affair with her pastor. Her ex-boyfriend has found out and has shamed her on social media. And because of the shaming, she commits suicide. And so the journalist is charged with trying to understand how it all fell apart for her. In a journalistic way, he exacts vengeance.
Okay.
And it's a real small film. So I did that, done this. I'm going to meet my writing staff in a couple of hours because I am going to run the room for the second season of an Amazon show that drops April 15th called Outer Range with Josh Brolin. Thank you.
Congratulations,
and hopefully on the other side of it, there will be this limited series, Ali X. I'm turning in the pilot script on Monday. I'm writing, and should I say, I'm finishing a rewrite on Jack Johnson for Antoine Fuqua and DiCaprio's company.
That's what I'm talking about right there. See what I'm saying? See?
and hopefully what I want to do, honestly, though, is clear the runway and sort of become what Jason Blum is to movies under 5 million as a producer.
Right.
I want to live in that space as a writer director because there's a lot of freedom, and people who want to gripe and moan about not having the greatest sized budgets don't also understand that with those budgets come a lot of eyes over their shoulders. And I don't want that. I want more of what I did with Things Never Said, which was make it in a bubble and throw it together any way I possibly can. Same thing that happened with True, make it in a bubble, do it as efficiently as I possibly can. Same thing that happened with The Devil You Know, made in a bubble, made with love, everybody was engaged. Eventually you look up and there's a movie that's in 118 theaters, will eventually end up on VOD, and you know, after you make a cake once, if you're a baker, you gotta make another cake.
Yes,
that's what I plan to do.
All right, brother. Well, before we let you get out of here, man, one more time, man. The Devil You Know drops on April the 1st, today. Congratulations, man. Third time out the chamber. You're doing what you're doing. I'm so proud of you. Any last message before we let you go on this film?
A lot of people have been reaching out to me about sitting down with me and impressing me or seeking my guidance. And I tell everybody that wants to make product, that wants to get into filmmaking, that wants to begin a long journey as a professional, YouTube is your friend. And I mean, as John Witherspoon would say, from the Rudy to the Tootie. You can go on YouTube and learn how to use equipment. You can go on YouTube and find tutorials to edit, and you can end up on YouTube with your product, which can begin a journey not unlike Issa Rae's, Lena Waithe, Justin Simeon, Matthew Cherry. And those people are doing exceptionally well. You just have to put in the work. You put in the work, you do the study, you realize that study never ends, and you grind. Because a lot of people love to say that they hustle, but they don't study while they hustle. And that's why corner boys stay on the corner. If you want to rise, study, and you will never have to bump into someone like me until I see you somewhere and go, that's so-and-so.
Right.
And to use the best example going right now, Morgan Cooper, who created Bel Air. Mm-hmm. I used to watch him on YouTube for years when he was the guy who would show you how to work red cameras in Kansas City while he was making commercials locally, while he was making music videos locally. And then one day, as he was driving across the bridge going somewhere, he said, man, I wonder what Fresh Prince would look like if it was a drama. And for fun, shot a 2-minute trailer. Mm-hmm. And that 2-minute trailer got a 2-season order from Peacock. And now that dude is far over where I am.
Wow. I don't agree. I mean, he's doing well. He ain't Charles Murray yet. Charles Murray is developed over years.
What did I tell you earlier about myths and storytelling?
You did. You did indeed.
I am nothing but another myth that stories are told about.
Yep. Well, brother, it's always a pleasure to sit down and talk to you. Whether it's here, whether we get together and do what we do, it's always cool to talk to you. I want to thank you for giving me some time today.
Thank you. You're gonna hit me when you come to LA next time, right?
Man, why you putting it out there, man? This ain't for the audience, man. It's me and you. Stop it.
You know it'll be good to see you.
It will be good to see you, man. But you take care, bruh, and we will keep the conversation going. All
Absolutely.
right?